stuff to America for you. Because one thing you got to admit to yourself is that a lot of the history, as far as what you learned in school, as far as what you see on TV and propaganda, they want you to believe that during the ancient times that all the stuff was going on in the East, all the civilizations were in the East, all the empires were in the East, and that there was absolutely nothing going on in the Western Hemisphere. They want you to believe that North, South, and Central America was just a bunch of trees, a bunch of random buffalo, and if it had any people, it was a mixed mongoloid-looking people, and it was small groups of them just running around in the woods, basically as these savage people. Now, that is the narrative that they have put out for us to believe, and a lot of us have, chosen to follow that narrative. They tell you that the original, people of America,
the Spanish conquest. So at the time when these devils started going around the world and taking the aboriginals' land, the indigenous people's land, the races or the race that they found over here, the Mayans, is the so-called African American, the Negroes, so-called Negroes.
Pack depiction. Bottom pack. So look at all this. Look at these brothers.
Wow. That's us.
Look at these brothers, man. Come on.
Boston. That's us.
These are the Mayans that created, and this is why they ain't gonna show you this. As far as the Mayans, they ain't gonna show you this at all. They don't want you to see none of this shit.
Because if they show you this, that'll have you asking too many questions about this, and that'll blow everything right out.
You don't even need to ask questions. After you see this, you know you was here.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff just comes from many diverse sources. And with regards to the word of Mexim, or what we use of Mexim, this is the old, what they call Portolano map. And here you see it says, it's hard to see, but it says North America or Mex. Because the word Mexico came from the word Mexim. And the word Mex is up here, nowhere near what we call Mexico, which means that North America or Mex, a Mexim. That's what we refer to it as, a Mexim.
You understand? Like, what kind of clause is this? What kind of clause is this? What kind of animal was this nigga killing to wear this? You understand? This, albeit great, albeit spiritual, all that, this is a girl. So it's cool.
I want to zoom in on the Incas. This is a drawing, of course. Let's not overlook the fact that this garb looks just like the Levite garb, the Levites from the Bible who put the stones on their shit, just like the fucking Infinity Gauntlet on Thanos' hand, with the sun in the middle. And she's holding this picture, showing you the sun in the middle. You know what I'm talking about? The sun for enlightenment. She's holding an acorn on her staff that is a pineal gland. You know the whole thing that people do with their turbans by putting a little gem right there, saying that her third eye is awakening and she's a female who is allowed to do it. Very unlike the Catholics and Christians who tell you that women cannot be enlightened and cannot go to heaven and cannot preach. Can I get an amen? You know what I'm talking about? But she was on it. Anyway, small details to a giant, but we'll get to there eventually because you still believe in stuff. All right, so to establish the plantations and slavery. They're enslaving niggas, but the niggas are the kings. Cut it the fuck out, okay? All those fucking black people in Brazil and Peru think they came from fucking West Africa, and their whole fucking recent history of lineage is of kings. This is literally what Inca means. But anyway, we'll keep going. Right? Come on, look at the noses. Let's stop being cute in this bitch. But you see, there's a change. Nigga. Niggas got recorders and staffs and third eyes and pineal glands. All of a sudden, this bitch-ass nigga shows up from Europe. Oh yeah, I said that right. He's a bitch-ass nigga from Europe shows up. And all of a sudden, these Indians turn into niggas from Europe. What do they call them? Dirty Moors? Let's talk about it. There's another dirty Moor. Now, check this out. These are Indians. All of a sudden, niggas got Caesars and fucking temple fades. You're not going to tell me these are olive tone people. These are niggas. On the Inca king list. The difference between the two, these were the traditional niggas, and these are the new Franciscan baptized, Holy Roman Empire niggas who married in. King Carlos V, Charles V, Charles Black, Started the whole bloodline over here by marrying Rebecca. That's the story of Pocahontas and John Smith. Started the shit over, switched their politics. They went from Republicans to Democrats. Bitch ass niggas. And all of a sudden, now they're getting lighter. Now they're getting lighter. Nigga got the Jerry curl slip back now. Getting lighter. Oh no, we don't know how light-skinned girls are made after 5 presidents. Getting lighter. Oh, he's a little, we can say he's olive tone now. Getting lighter. To this fucking day. To this bitch, whoever this is. You can't even tell no more. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we arguing about? What do we don't agree with? This is the history of South America. As of Roman Inquisition of the Moors. What's to be confused about?
The feathers. The Moors from up north coming down, meeting the Grand Senor. The Moor he inhabit, the Moors inhabit, the Black Fez. Look at him in the Moorish burnous. You see all of this, right? All draped in the imperial red. These are not the so-called MS-13 Mexicans and these people that we seeing today. Just so they know, just so we know. When Manuel Diego, was it Diego Manuel? Yeah. Frida Kahlo's husband, Diego, when he was painting murals and all that, look at the Mexicans on the wall and we paint. But again, what Mexicans were then, they are today. It's just that the lighter ones are always put to the front. And they have a system in their culture where they do that. That's part of it. So the problem, this is again a Moor from Peru, a statue of how we was rocking it in Peru. You see the copper colored people. Which prophet said, come all ye Asiatics. So long as they got loyalty and fealty to the empire and they doing what they supposed to do or whatever, I'm with it. That don't mean we need to all interbreed with them and all of that. Like they can still stay the archetype they are, but what unifies us is that we're all Moors or Moorish Americans. I'm down with that. Is a represent to us over here. The original Uaxitan, which out of which comes Uachita, out of which comes Wichita, Oichita, which out of that comes Wichita, which out of that comes Wichita, which out of that comes Washita. So why not go back to Uaxutan? Because the Empress knew that these Negroes was not going to be on that type of level to be able to really even accept that. So let's use the later term, and hopefully there'll be Moors to come to regress us to the point where we remember, so we could get back to being what we really are calling ourselves. So as a Moorish American, right, as Moors, we have a history post-prophet, pre-prophet, post-prophet.
With the
You know what I'm
Olmecs
saying?
and produced the Aboriginal. The Olmecs gave the lower kingdom to the Aborigines. The Aborigines called the land Mujan, which is a combination of the Olmecan Ashuric Aramaic word Mu, which means one, and the Chinese word Zhan, named after Yu Shan. Did you know that there was a province in China today called Jian, and that this is the site of one of the only Chinese pyramids? Mujan became Mijan and eventually became Mekjan or Mexico. The Aborigines called themselves Mexicans, and they remixed with the Olmecs, which was...
The name is really, they would call it Mexica. They would call it the Mexica.
And you might be wondering, am I saying that the Red Indian is an Aborigine? Well, the Red Indian is a result of mixing between Olmecs and Chinese. This is why you have some Native Americans with dark skin and Negroid features, and some with light skin and Mongoloid features. Olmecs were indigenous Americans. Chinese were immigrants. Mexicans are Aborigines, who were the combination of Olmecs and Chinese. The East Indians that came here were also immigrants. As for the tribes of North America, the tribes of North America were a result of Olmec and Mexicans. However, some of the Mexicans continued to mix with the Chinese and produced yellow tribes like Pueblo and Manso or Mansu.
You know, so this right here, again, evidence of the Moorish presence in America. This is a graph of the actual. This is actually carved out on a giant tree stump in the British Museum, and it laid out the Aztec kingdoms that the Moors ruled during this during the period before the fall and all that. And then this is from the actual book Time Walker, where he lists and shows that each one says, see, Moorish country flag. Each one of these points is where the flags flew as we protected the Aztecs. So the Aztec Empire was the Moors. We did it again. It's all laid out. This book been out before we was born, or when we was real small, from the 70s. And it's from an Indian. There's an Indian saying that the Moors basically ran everything over here and protected everybody from the invading Africans and conquistador Portuguese and Spanish. Oh, we're those people. The so-called people that look like us that's in Mexico is the original ancient Mexicans that wasn't from nowhere else. That's our brothers and sisters that's catching the same hell that we catching. Only thing they calling them Afro-Latino and Afro-Mexican or whatever. Africa was largely depopulated after the last pole ship. Negroes, one of 12 tribes of Mu, settled largely in the Central America. That is why we can find huge Negroid heads. See? Many thousands of years old here in the jungle. Other Negroes managed to survive the New Guinea and Southeast Asia after Mu was destroyed the cataclysmic pole ship 24,000 years ago, right after the last Quran. Of course, anywhere in the South, the people look like us because that's where the civilization started. No civilizations start in the North. It's too cold. The people that wind up in the North usually are banished from somewhere and wind up in the North and then want to go to the South and take their land. Because in the cold, all you can do is work with cold material, iron, coal, see what I'm saying? Steel. See what I'm saying? In Egypt, what they was dealing with, gold, silver, you know what I'm saying? Quicksilver, platinum, rhodium. See what I'm saying? This nigga King Tut had a meteorite blade. It's still active now. If you put a Geiger counter to it, the shit still go up. You know what I'm saying? It made it out of a meteor. Africa was largely depopulated after the last pole ship about 10,000 years ago. 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, so-called Negroes, Moors, from Central America migrated into the area around Nigeria and began to populate the area of Africa. That's why Africa is a Latin word, because the people who spoke Latin named it that when they got there and settled. So it's not a out of Africa situation, it's an into Africa thing. Because all the data is saying it was all over here. Because remember, it's one landmass. So at one point, it's possible to use the oceans like rivers and get to one place to the other. Walter was reading The Ancient Kingdoms of Mexico by British historian Nigel Davis, a well-known critic, and Davis finally rejects any theories of the Phoenicians, Egyptians, Chinese Vikings, African sailors, or anyone else ever reaching Mexico by boat. Yet, unlike historians, he readily admits that the Olmecs are Negroes. See what I'm saying? While the Asians began settling in Madagascar and East Africa. The Asians come from a group of people today called the Khoisan. Look them up. They're the original people of South Africa, which is actually Azania. Look, these are Moors in New Orleans. These are Moors in Nicaragua, as well as Nicaragua. You see? Same face that you see on the calendar, because this is the true Americans. We are the truest Americans because we actually had a culture that existed here prior to everybody else. This is more examples of it. So we went from, you had the mound cultures and then all of that. And as we move progressively, let's say from the late 1300s, 1400s up into the 1700s, that's when all of these structures that we see today that they done buried and act like we don't have nothing to do with was set up like this. And because of all of the displacement and the struggles and everything we was going through, it was all refurbished. So when we say the Egyptians built these things, we're saying that the descendants of those Egyptians that was already here basically refined this society architecturally to reflect that. And then all of the dominions in the world that was down with that all carried up the same so-called architecture. And that architecture was erroneously renamed as Roman architecture, you see, or Greek architecture after Reconstruction by specifically Thaddeus Stevens and Horace Greeley. Yes. And anyone that was not going to fall into the new lines of what that perfection was going to be then became renegade. See?